What's up? Welcome to the 3 Point Play. I am your host, Kyle Bersia, doing a solo show this week as Lewis has run into some issues as he normally does. At least we won't have to hear him talk about how great he is at all things betting, even though he never actually wins any money. So whenever money's not on the line, great. Whenever money is on the line, bad. Just remember that. Last week, though, he did squeak out a win. He had 5 while I had 4. Excuse me. So, yeah, he won last week. So we'll just move right along. I'll recap last week real quick. Our locks last week, I had Patriots, Chargers, Rams. I am 1-2, 11-19 for the season. But I do want to point out two things here as I read Lou's locks from last week, which were the Saints, Seahawks, and Raiders. He was also 1-2. He has 2 3-0 weeks and is only 12-18. So half of his wins have come in, and he's only one better than me. So I think I deserve some plaudits there, and I appreciate everybody agreeing with me. Last Thursday, we both had the Ravens. That was just a horrendous game. The Dolphins somehow just completely bottled up everything the Ravens wanted to do, came out with a big win. Great for the Dolphins, really terrible for the Ravens. Really just, we've talked about this last few weeks, like the AFC. What do they want? Do they even want anybody in the Super Bowl this year? It doesn't seem like it. They're going to get one, obviously, but gosh, nobody wants to be the best team in the AFC. I mean, the Titans still are record wise, but everybody's just like, well, it's going to fall apart at some point, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who really knows? So our dog of 3.5 or more to win outright last week. I had the Saints. Lewis had the Seahawks. Another win for me. It's 3 straight. I'm 5-5 on the season. Lewis is 1-9. So another thing that I'm beating him in. Highest scoring team last week, I had the Ravens, real bad. Lewis had the Cowboys. They were the 3rd highest scoring team behind the Bills and Pats. I am still leading that 9-3. Week to week bets. This was a great job by Lou. He picked Mike White Lotus to have 3 or more turnovers. He had at least 4 interceptions, if not more turnovers than that. So that win. I had the Rams win by 17 plus, and they just straight up lost to the 49ers on Monday Night Football, and Matt Stafford was really bad, and the Niners ran all over them. So a loss for me there. We're going to kick things off this week as we normally do by eliminating some teams. Obviously, I just get to pick these on my own. And in one of our favorite annual traditions, unlike any other really, we are going to eliminate both the Jets and the Giants this week. Both New York teams, get them out of here. They've been 2 of the 5 worst franchises over the last decade in terms of. So great to see them go out as a pair, as they've just been sitting at the bottom of the standings also as a pair. Before we get into week 11, I want you to know that I have been handing out winners. It's just been if you've been going against me. So this week, I'm by myself. I don't get to talk things out with Lewis. Hasn't really been working out well for me anyway. But yeah, just pick everything against everything I'm saying. At the very least, we have 15 games this week. You're really likely to go 9-6, which would be a big winning week for you. I have no feel. I can't figure it out. These last 3 weeks have been really bad for me, but we're going to try and turn it around. But my advice to you is just bet against me. Yeah. And that should work out well for you. Thursday night, we've got the New England Patriots at the Atlanta Falcons. New England rolling along. I have been feeling pretty good about them weeks. They are at 6-4. I believe they've won 3 in a row. The Falcons are at 4-5 after they just got absolutely crushed by the Cowboys last week in a game that went the exact opposite of how I felt it was going to go. I had the Falcons plus 9.5, felt really good about it, and then they put up 3 points. It was, in a word, not what you want, and they just looked terrible last week. They looked as bad as a team can look. They just got completely run off the field, just like Dallas did the week before against the Broncos. But 6.5 points at home on short rest feels pretty good to me, welcoming in a rookie quarterback. No team, what you need to remember about the NFL is no team is ever as bad as its worst game, and no team is ever as good as its best game. Patriots have been playing well. Josh McDaniels is letting the leash out on Mac Jones a little bit. They've been doing some better stuff lately, but Are the Patriots really a top three team in the AFC? I'm not sure. They are definitely a playoff team, but they're just a half game back of the Bills still. I think the Bills are better than the Patriots, certainly better game than the Patriots. So I like getting 6.5 here at home. I'm going to read you Lewis's picks. He's taking the Patriots. I've talked him over to taking the Patriots, but much like Lewis likes to do from week to week, it is I'm going to fade a team this week and then be right back on them next week. Patriots rolling along, but I think the Falcons, they can't possibly be worse than they were last week. So Patriots coming off, I think, scoring 45 points. Falcons scored 3 last week. Everybody loving the Pats. I'll take the 6.5 at home in prime time. First Sunday game, Indianapolis Colts at the Buffalo Bills. Colts here are 7.5-point underdogs. It's another one that Lewis and I disagree on. He's taking the Bills. I'm sure he would just say that he hates Carson Wentz and want to move on as quickly as possible. The Bills offense, and I mean, shout out to them last week for certainly playing really well. Other than this, not been all that great on offense lately. So this is kind of just me thinking that the Buffalo Bills, while one of the teams in the AFC, I don't think they're as good as people want them to be. They put up 45 on the Jets, but the week before they lost to the Jags, and then they only put up 26 on the Dolphins in a game where it was 13-11 for a long time. They lost to the Titans the week before. It's been a weird run for the Bills, and 7.5 points to a team with a defense that can rush the passer when the Bills can't pass protect. I like the Colts here getting 7.5. The Bills defense, this is the one thing that gives me pause is the Bills live off turnovers, and Carson Wentz will absolutely give you the ball. But I think this week it'll be, I like a close loss here for the Colts, who are still fighting for playoff positioning there in the AFC. Moving on, we've got the Baltimore Ravens 6-3 at the Chicago Bears, who are 3-6. Ravens minus 6.5-point favorites here on the road. Lewis and I agree here. We have the Bears. Lewis loves the Bears this week. I'll go ahead and tell you that the Bears are his dog of 3.5 or more to win outright. Don't know that I love them that much. He also has Josh Fields as a top 3 passing QB for the week. What does that mean? I don't know. He just said top 3 passing QB for the week. I don't know if he meant quarterback rating, QBR, fantasy points, but only through the air. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I read that and just decided that it was best for me to go on with my instead of trying to get in his head. But yeah, I like the 6.5-point underdog here at home. The Ravens are a mess. I mean, what a stinker they put up last week against a really bad Dolphins team. The Ravens could have just grabbed the AFC North for sure, but the AFC really as a whole by the horns, and instead just gave it up last week. I don't know what to make of the Ravens right now, but them giving a touchdown to a defense that's pretty good is pretty tough. So I want no part of that. This is a game that, if I actually had to lay money on it, I would stay far, far away, but I will take the 6.5-point underdog at home. Next up, the Lions, 0-8-1, finally snapping that losing streak without winning is something that probably only the Lions or the Browns a couple years ago could have done. So good for the Lions for getting that just horrendous tie against the Steelers last week. I hope nobody that's watching this watched that game who's not a Lions or Steelers fan. I know I want to know part of it, and it just kept going. And the people who went to that game in person, to you for just sitting through that abhorrent game. But the Lions getting 9.5 here on the road against the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, if you've watched this podcast before, Lewis loves the Lions. He's all over the Lions. He's taking all the Lions he can get. I'm with him here. 9.5 points. The Browns offense right now can't figure it out. It's the Baker show again. As far as we know this week, I mean, if Nick Chubb comes back, I'll revisit this. This is a lot of points for a team that is really, really struggling. Don't know what to make of them. Jared Goff threw 5 quarters last week, threw for 77 yards. He might do the exact same thing this week. but all he has to do is stay within 9.5 points. So I'm with Lewis on that one. Surprisingly, Lewis not locking the lines as he's really like to do all year long. Next up in AFC South matchup, the Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. Titans giving the Texans 10.5 points here. Lewis and I are split. He's taking the Texans plus 10.5. Totally understand it. But the Texans, ever since they got Tyrod back, have just continued to be an absolute mess. Lost last week to the Dolphins 17-9, couldn't move the ball. Whole bunch of turnovers. They lost to the Rams by 16. They lost to the Cardinals by 26. They lost to the Colts by 28. It's been a rough month for the Texans. I think it continues here. This Titans team gets it done. It's not pretty. McNichols is out this week, so it seems like it's going to be the Deontay Foreman show with Adrian Peterson backing him up, which inspires exactly nobody. But the Texans don't have the bodies to stop anything that the Titans want to do in this game. So I think Lewis is probably banking on a backdoor cover here for the Texans to lose by a touchdown or 10 points. So I understand Lewis's pick here. He's going against the grain, but the Titans are just better across the board than the Texans. So I give the 10.5 to the Texans on that one. Next up is an NFC North matchup. We've got the Packers, who are 8-2, coming off a shutout victory over the Seahawks last week against the Minnesota Vikings. Packers giving up 2.5 here. Lewis must have marked this wrong, said he's lost Vikings, and then sent me that he picked the Packers. I don't know what Lewis is doing. None of us know what Lewis is doing. He's acting like he's playing 4D chess, but he's really just throwing a tennis ball against the wall and bouncing it off his head. I like the Packers here. I can't tell you who Lewis likes. He said he was liking the Vikings, and then he sent me that he picked the Packers. So I don't know. But for me, I don't think the Vikings can stop the Packers offense. Aaron Rodgers looked terrible, which kind of makes sense. He missed a week, but started to pick it up there in the second half. The Vikings, you don't know what you're getting on a week-to-week basis. Kirk Cousins sometimes just decides that Adam Thielen's not even on the team. Other times he decides Jordan Jefferson's not on the team. Sometimes he decides neither's on the team for a half. If I knew that both Jefferson and Thielen were going to be factors in this game, I would like the Vikings' chances. But this is a weird, fishy line, just like the Eagles at Broncos was last week, where the Broncos were giving 2.5. And I said that on the podcast, like, really weird line, and then I took the Broncos anyway. Got another one here, 2.5. I don't know why the Packers aren't 3.5 point favorites, but this is why Vegas makes all the money. Suckered me into taking the Packers. So I'll take the Packers. An AFC East matchup, we've got the Dolphins 3-7 coming off that Thursday win over the Ravens at the Jets. Dolphins here, just like the Packers, are 2.5 point favorites. Tua questionable. Who knows if he's playing? We do know Joe Flacco is playing for the Jets, which is a problem. Not that Mike White was very good last week, as I touched on earlier, but Lewis has the Jets, so good for him for wanting to trust Joe Flacco one more time in his life. I'll just take the team that has more talent with the Dolphins. I hope Tua plays. If he doesn't play, I'm a little more scared about it, but he played pretty well in the second half last week, was able to, keep that Dolphins and add to it a little. So I'm going to take the 2.5, or I'm going to give 2.5, with the Dolphins. Just feel like they're better board than the Jets, and I just don't want any part of Joe Flacco. Next up, we've got the Saints, who are 5-4, the Eagles, who are 4-6. Eagles 1.5 point favorites here, really riding high last week. They just walked right into Denver and crushed the Broncos. Not something that I saw coming. I guess I should have with that 2.5 point line. I don't know what to do with that. But they've been playing really well the last 3 weeks. They walked into Detroit, won 44-6. They only lost by 3 against the Chargers at home. And then they just ran all over the Broncos last week. They've run the ball really well the last couple of weeks. Lewis has the Eagles. I just want to point out that what to make of the Broncos defense. They annihilated the Cowboys, but the Cowboys had so many chances in that game, and Dak just kept overthrowing CeeDee Lamb. The Eagles just walked right into Denver and ran all over them, as I said. This Saints defense is for real. I mean, obviously, Trevor Siemian, it's tough to know what you're going to get out of him. And the Saints have lost 2 in a row, but they've lost each of the last 2 by 2 points. So this 1.5 point line is a little tricky, but I think the Saints actually win this game. So I'm taking the Saints plus 1.5. Lewis has the Eagles -1.5. Next up is Washington 3-6 at the Carolina Panthers, who are 5-5. The return of Cam Newton. I'm just going to take that as all the motivation Carolina needs. Washington, Chase Young out for the year. Looked really good last week, obviously, in that win over the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are a complete mess right now. Panthers have a lot of talent on their defense, and Washington struggles to move the ball as long as they're not playing team, which is a weird thing to say. But Cam Newton providing all the motivation. I'm actually going to lock the Panthers in this one. The last 12 o'clock game here on the slate is at the Jaguars. Another one that Lewis and I disagree on. This is going to be a weird week where I probably get 2 correct. So again, pick against me. Just pick against me, pick against me, pick against me, pick against me. I've got the Jags plus 5.5. Beware the team that looks great on Monday night at home and then goes on the road. Plus, you've got West Coast to East Coast early. I'm taking the Jags plus 5.5. Lewis has the Niners minus 5.5. Only 20% of people picking the Jags right now. I just want everyone to know that you need to beware the team that looks great on Monday night at home, going on the road the next week. That was a crazy win for the Niners. Great for them. They ran all over the Rams. Matt Stafford was terrible. I like the Jags in this spot. I wish the line was higher, obviously, but I'm not ready to say the Niners are a good team again. First, early evening game with this dumb time change that shouldn't happen. Cincinnati Bengals at the Las Vegas Raiders. Bengals 1.5 point favorites here. Lewis and I split again. We seem to be split on almost every game, which is probably not good for me. As I keep saying, I should, maybe move on from that and just let you know if we split or we agree. Lewis has the Bengals minus 1.5. Tough line for me, but it came down to the Raiders can rush the passer and the Bengals can't protect the passer. I'm taking the Raiders here plus 1.5. They got their doors blown off by the Chefs last week. Again, you kind of almost, you have to throw out most results week to week, especially when a team just looks terrible. The Raiders are better than what they showed last week. The Bengals have been a mess for the last few games. But again, it comes down to pass rush versus offensive line. The Bengals offensive line has been brutal, and the Raiders can get after the passer. So give me the Raiders plus 1.5. And that's actually going to be my second lock. I know I said it's a tough line, but I've talked myself into really liking the Raiders, which means you should pick the Bengals. Speaking, they are 2.5 point favorites at home versus the Dallas Cowboys. Chefs moved to 6-4 win over Las Vegas last week, put up more than 40 points. Dallas also put up more than 40 points at home against the Atlanta Falcons. I love to take Dallas anytime they are an underdog. So give me Dallas plus 2.5. Lewis has the Chefs minus 2.5. But what Lewis probably didn't realize is these teams have been shutting down the Chiefs by playing too high, right? Playing too high safeties. Well, last week, the Raiders, because they're the Raiders, decided that they were just going to play cover 3 all game long, and they got absolutely crushed for it. So I think the Cowboys will play too high, as these other teams who've been slowing the Chiefs down do. And then I don't know how the Chiefs are stopping the Cowboys offense. This has all the makings for just bet the over, and then somehow it's going to be like 17-13. So I like the Cowboys. Lewis likes the Kansas City Chiefs. Next up's another one, weird one for Lewis. He is locking the Seahawks plus 2.5. Don't know why. Russ was really terrible last week, and I think that if he'd stuck to the timeline of his injury, probably wouldn't be back this week either. They are hosting the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are favored by 2.5. This for me, I'm on the Seahawks as well. If Kyler doesn't play, Colt McCoy was bad last week, and the Cardinals got out. But if Kyler plays, then I'll stick with I'll change to the Cardinals. So right now I've got the Seahawks. Lewis has the Seahawks as well. It's a lock. I think that he'll probably rethink himself if Kyler's playing. Next up is Lewis's second lock, or I guess third lock. If he's actually liking the Vikings, I don't know. This is one of those things where Lewis really only sent in 2 locks. Who knows what he's doing? Pittsburgh Steelers at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers are 4.5-point underdogs, and I don't know why. The Chargers, they got that 3-point win over the Eagles a couple weeks ago. Last week, lose at home to the Vikings by 7. They lost to the Patriots at home by 3. They're what, 3-4 at home, might be 3-3 at home, but they've lost their last 2 at home to the Pats and Vikings. You know who has a really good defense? That's the Pittsburgh Steelers. If Roethlisberger plays, I'm locking the Steelers. If it's Mason Rudolph again, I'm not locking the Steelers. I'm going to pick the Steelers. So give me the Steelers plus 4.5. The Chargers just simply don't know what they're doing on offense. They have Justin Herbert, who's an incredible quarterback, was ascendant coming into the season. He has a cannon for an arm, and they just want to throw 4-yard routes all day long. I don't get it. Herbert hasn't been playing very well the last few weeks. Steelers defense really good here, coming off of that just despicable versus the Lions. It wasn't the defense's fault. They gave up 2 plays all game long. Just Mason really terrible. So if Rudolph's playing, or anybody other than Roethlisberger's playing, it's not a lock for me. But if it's Roethlisberger, I will lock the Pittsburgh Steelers. And finally, Monday night here, we have an agreement. We're going to end the show on an agreement. We both have the Giants plus 11.5 on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks, what are we doing? 2 weeks ago, you were the best team in the league. 3 weeks ago, maybe. 3 weeks ago, you're the best team in the league. You were 6-1. And then you lost in New Orleans on Halloween. Then you had a bye. And then off the bye, you lose by 10 to Washington. Don't know what's going on with the Buccaneers. I just know that the Giants getting 11.5 here sounds really tasty. Even though we eliminated both the Jets and Giants, I'm not saying the Giants are winning this game, but please give me Giants plus 11.5. I just can't trust the Buccaneers right now. Nobody knows what's going on. It's a problem. Tom Brady hasn't looked very good. People want to say it's Gronk and Antonio Brown being out, but it's like those guys are old, and he still has Godwin and Brait and Evans. I don't know why they're not, if Tom Brady's not comfortable throwing the ball, why they're not just pounding Leonard Fournette. I don't know. I got no answers for you. I just know that the Giants getting 11.5 on a Monday night is a lot of points. So really love the Giants there. Okay, so to recap, it has the Seahawks, Chargers, and Vikings. Even though he picked the Packers, I don't know what he's doing. I got nothing for you. And I am locking the Raiders, and if Roethlisberger plays, as well as the New Orleans Saints. So those are our locks. Thursday, he has the Patriots. I have the Falcons. The dog of 3.5 or more to win outright. Lewis Bears. I'm going to have to search through here because I don't think – give me the Steelers, the Roethlisberger. If he's not, I don't want the Steelers. So I guess I'll go with – man, this is brutal slate, guys. Guess I'll go with the Jags. I talked all about the Niners looking great on Monday night. Beware that team. So I'll take the Jags of a dog of 3.5 or more to win outright. Highest scoring team, Lewis has the Seahawks, just really loves them this week. I don't get that. I'm just going to take chalk and say that it's the winner of the Cowboys and Chiefs. Since I have the Cowboys plus 2.5, I'll take the Cowboys to be the highest scoring team. So that locks up I've got to come up with a week-to-week bet. Oh boy. Let's say that the gosh, I'm going to go with the Packers win by 11 or more points. Give me the Packers to win by 11 or more points. That's my bet of the week. As far as Survivor goes, we had a snafu in our Survivor League last week that I feel like I'm on the right side of, but nobody wants to agree with me, which is often the case. I find myself on an island, and I really would love to get everybody's feedback on this. So we're in a Survivor League where you can miss twice, which for one almost defeats the purpose of the Survivor League, but that's fine. We'll play by whoever's rules. It doesn't matter, right? So I've been perfect all year long. I got it correct last week. I had the Bills. The two other people who were still alive had the Steelers. Now, if you remember correctly, the Steelers did not win. I think these two people should lose because the Steelers win, and that's the name of the game. Is you got to go, you got to win to advance to next week, and that did not happen. However, it has been deemed that they shall get to continue, which I think is fraudulent. And also, I had the Cowboys left. They should not be able to move on. It's not right. So, but whatever. They've both missed one. I haven't missed any, so I'm still in the lead by a lot, but they should be out, and I should win the prize, but I didn't last week. It's weak, but whatever. I'm going to take, oh boy, this is tough. I can take the Browns to beat the Lions. I can take the Niners to beat the Jags, even though I just picked the Jags to win. Bucks over the Giants. Are the Bucks really going to lose 3 in a row? Really? They're going to let Daniel Jones? All right. I think I'm going to take the Bucks for right now. I don't feel great about it, but my other choices here are like the Ravens, which I don't feel good about. I think, I've already told you I have the Bears win. So it's really Browns or Buccaneers. So I will take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Survivor. So that wraps up this week of what's the show called? 3-Point Play. That's what the show's called. Lewis should be back next week as we get ready for Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has a great weekend and watches all the football that they want to watch. So thank you all for watching. You can reach us at 3pointplaypodcast@gmail.com. I am at kverska7 on Twitter. Lewis is at TPP Sweet Lou. Please like, share, and subscribe this. We really appreciate everybody watching. Really thank you for all the emails. We really appreciate it. And until next week, everybody, thanks for watching.